Going to church should be a calming experience, but for Shirley McCleary, it was a sad ordeal one Wednesday night in 1986. She was supposed to pay her respects to her deceased uncle, but unfortunately, she found herself in a life-or-death situation. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. In the dim, flickering light of the small Church of Jesus Christ in Baxter, Kentucky, the congregation gathered to mourn the passing of Marion Rowe, an 86-year-old pastor revered in his community. His niece Shirley McCleary was among those in attendance. She had come all the way from Toledo, Ohio, to pay tribute to her uncle. This was a place for people who knew what usually went down behind closed doors. The practice of snake handling in religious ceremonies is controversial and dangerous. It began in the early 20th century in the Appalachian region, based on a literal interpretation of the Bible. Specifically, verses like Mark 16, verses 17 and 18, which mention believers handling snakes and not being harmed, inspired this practice. Participants believe that their faith will protect them from harm or heal them if they are bitten. Despite its dangers, snake handling continues in some communities, particularly in the Appalachian region. It's illegal in many states, including Kentucky, where it's considered a Class B misdemeanor. This means it's punishable by a small fine, but enforcement is difficult. These communities are often close-knit, and members are reluctant to cooperate with authorities. Pastor Marion Rowe used to practice snake handling in his church, something only the congregation knew. In fact, the Church of Jesus Christ was one of the few remaining sanctuaries where the controversial practice still persisted, at least in that area. Behind closed doors, dangerous serpents were brought onto the pulpit. Rowe would usually handle the snakes while preaching Bible verses, but he would also occasionally ask members of the congregation to step forward and dance with the serpents. Shirley McCleary was no stranger to this practice. She had grown up in a household where religion permeated every part of life, and she had seen many ceremonies involving the handling of snakes. On this night, as she mourned her uncle, she was struck with a strong desire to participate in the ritual that had been so central to his ministry. In a glass box just in front of the pulpit lay an eastern diamondback rattlesnake. It was an incredible sight. Shirley, known for her strong faith and dedication to her beliefs, silently prayed for her uncle's soul when the preacher called her name. The 38-year-old woman rose up from her chair and took a few steps toward the pulpit. She approached the rattlesnake, which lifted its head and started to flick its tongue in a threatening manner. Usually in these special services, the snakes are half asleep or even sedated, but this time it was fully awake. Shirley took this as a sign. She had to be ready to honor her uncle's memory. With just one bite, the eastern diamondback rattlesnake can cause fatalities due to its potent venom. It's one of the biggest and most dangerous snakes in North America. This snake inhabits grasslands, swamps, and forests in the southeast region of the United States. Being an ambush predator, it uses camouflage to blend in with its surroundings and attack its target swiftly. Its venom is a lethal concoction of toxins, which severely damages tissue and interferes with blood coagulation. A bite from this snake can be lethal if medical attention is not received quickly. In the wild, eastern diamondbacks steer clear of people. They would rather remain in the shadows and only attack if they sense danger. The rattle serves as a warning and an indication that they need privacy. However, this instinctive behavior is suppressed when a snake handler manipulates it. As Shirley reached into the enclosure, its characteristic rattle, a warning of its deadly potential, was uncannily silent. The congregation silently observed for a brief while as Shirley raised the serpent in the air as a living example of her faith. But then, the snake struck without warning. The immediate reaction was one of shock and horror. Shirley froze, her body flinching from the sharp pain. The room was filled with the sound of fervent prayers and voices lifted in desperate hope. She felt the cold burn from the bite sites, while the venom continued to spread through her veins. After a while, Shirley was moved to a house close to the church, where the prayers continued uninterrupted. But things were going south quickly for her. Breathing difficulties, extreme pain, and lightheadedness were among the systematic effects of the venom as it permeated her circulation. Hours passed and still no medical help was sought. Faith-driven, the congregation felt that going to the doctor would be a betrayal of their faith in God's ability to heal. But Shirley's state deteriorated more and more as the night dragged into the early morning. Her skin turned clammy and cold, and her breathing became difficult. Seeing her pain, the assembly simply prayed more fervently, their eyes welling with tears as they pleaded for God's forgiveness. The scene was incredible. Blinded by faith, no one tried to take the 38-year-old woman to receive the medical help she needed. As more hours passed by, Shirley's strength waned, her vision blurred, and she could feel life slowly draining from her. The effects of the venom finally got to Shirley's body at around 5:15 a.m. She passed away, surrounded by her fellow believers who continued to pray, their faith unshaken even in the face of death. When Harlan County Coroner William Ray Venable arrived at 5:25 a.m., he found Shirley lifeless on a couch. His eyes couldn't believe what had happened. He later stated that he didn't see any snakes when he arrived. If he had, they'd have been dead ones because he would have killed them himself. Her passing sparked a new discussion about the ethics and legality of handling snakes during religious ceremonies. State Police Detective Merrill Harrison recalled several reports spanning the previous 20 years of snake handling in the area, including the death of a building contractor from the Harlan area 6 years earlier. Despite the dangers and occasional fatalities, the practice persisted, fueled by a belief in the power of faith to transcend the natural world. There was an unsettling silence in the days that followed Shirley's passing at the Church of Jesus Christ in Baxter. With its unsuspecting wooden construction and absence of a steeple, the small building stood as a silent testament to the faith that had both taken one life and sustained others. For those who knew Shirley, her final moments proved how strong her faith was. She believed that God would heal her, or at least keep her from harm's way. In the end, even in the face of mortal danger, she didn't panic. Was it bravery or recklessness that pushed her toward the rattlesnake in the glass box? That will remain a mystery.